The Mongol conquest of the Song dynasty under Kublai Khan was the final step for the Mongols to rule the whole of China under the Yuan dynasty. It is also considered the Mongol Empire's last great military achievement. Background: before the Mongol-Jin War escalated, an envoy from Song dynasty arrived at the court of the Mongols, perhaps to negotiate a united offensive against the Jin dynasty, who the Song had previously fought during the Jin-Song Wars. Although Genghis Khan refused, on his death in 1227 he bequeathed a plan to attack the Jin capital by passing through Song territory. Subsequently, a Mongol ambassador was killed by the Song governor in uncertain circumstances. Before receiving any explanation, the Mongols marched through Song territory to enter the Jin's redoubt in Henan. In 1233 the Song dynasty finally became an ally of the Mongols, who agreed to share territories south of the Yellow River with the Song. Song general Meng Gong defeated the Jin general Wu Jian and directed his troops to besiege the city of Kaizhou, to which the last emperor of the Jurchen had fled. With the help of the Mongols, the Song armies were finally able to extinguish the Jin dynasty that had occupied northern China for more than a century. A year later, the Song generals fielded their armies to occupy the old capitals of the Song, but they were completely repelled by the Mongol garrisons under Takea, a descendant of Borchu, who was a famed companion of Genghis Khan. Thus the Mongol troops, headed by sons of the Ogedei Khan, started their slow but steady invasion of the south. The Song forces resisted fiercely, which resulted in a prolonged set of campaigns. However, the primary obstacles to the prosecution of their campaigns was unfamiliar terrain that was inhospitable to their horses, new diseases, and the need to wage naval battles, a form of warfare completely alien to the masters of the steppe. This combination resulted in one of the most difficult and prolonged wars of the Mongol conquests. The Chinese offered the fiercest resistance of among all the Mongols fought. The Mongols required every single advantage they could gain in every military artifice known at that time, in order to win. A greater amount of stubborn resistance was put up by Korea and Song China towards the Mongol invasions than the others in Eurasia, who were swiftly crushed by the Mongols at a lightning pace. The Mongol force which invaded southern China was far greater than the force they sent to invade the Middle East in 1256. Han defectors, many Han Chinese and Khitan, defected to the Mongols to fight against the Jin and then the Song. Two Han Chinese leaders, Shi Tian's, Lu Haima, and the Khitan Xiao Zhala, defected and commanded the three Tumans in the Mongol army. Lu Haima and Shi Tian served Ogedei Khan. Lu Haima and Shi Tianxiang led armies against western Xia for the Mongols. There were 4 Han Tumans and 3 Khitan Tumans, with each Tuman consisting of 10,000 troops. Shi Tian was a Han Chinese who lived in the Jin dynasty. Interethnic marriage between Han and Jurchen became common at this time. His father was Shi Bingji. Shi Bingji was married to a Jurchen woman and a Han Chinese woman. It is unknown which of them was Shi Tian's mother. Shi Tian was married to 2 Jurchen women, a Han Chinese woman, and a Korean woman, and his son Shigang was born to one of his Jurchen wives. His Jurchen wives' surnames were Mo9 and Naho, his Korean wife's surname was Lee, and his Han Chinese wife's surname was Shi. Shi Tian defected to the Mongol Empire's forces upon their invasion of the Jin dynasty. His son Shigang married a Karaite woman. The Karaite were Mongolified Turkic people and considered as part of the Mongol nation. The Yuan dynasty created a Han army out of defected Jin troops, an army of defected Song troops called the newly submitted army. First stage. From 1235 on, the Mongol general Kuo Juanhek started to attack the region of Sichuan through the Chengdu Plain. The occupation of this region had often been an important step for the conquest of the south. The important city of Zhangyang, the gateway to the Yangtze Plain, which was defended by the Song general Cao Yuan, capitulated in 1236. In the east, meanwhile, Song generals like Menggong and Duguo withstood the pressure of the Mongol armies under Kouan Buhu because the main Mongol forces were at that time moving towards Europe. In Sichuan, Governor Yu Ji adopted the plan of the brothers Ranjin and Ranpu to fortify important locations in mountainous areas, like Diao Yusheng. From this point, Yu Ji was able to hold Sichuan for a further 10 years. In 1239, General Meng defeated the Mongols and retook Zhangyang, contesting Sichuan against the Mongols for years. The only permanent gain was Chengdu for the Mongols in 1241. In the Huai River area, the Mongol Empire's commanders remained on the defensive, taking few major Song cities. Although Torigena and Gyu Khan ordered their generals to attack the Song, the conflict between the Mongols and the Song troops took place in the area of Chengdu. When Torigena sent her envoys to negotiate peace, the Song imprisoned them. The Mongols captured Hangzhou and invaded Sichuan in 1242. Their commanders ordered Zhang Ru and Chagan to attack the Song. When they pillaged Song territory, the Song court sent a delegation to negotiate a ceasefire. Chagan and Zhang Ru returned north after the Mongols accepted the terms. An account of the Mongol attack on Nanjing was given in a Chinese annal, describing the Chinese defenders' use of gunpowder against the Mongols, as the Mongols had dug themselves pits under the earth where they were sheltered from missiles. We decided to bind with iron the machines called Chen Tianlei, thunder shake in the sky, and lowered them into the places where the translation of the term for the device is that of Professor Partington, who describes it as an iron pot filled with huo, yao, literally, fire drug, a low nitrate gunpowder or proto-gunpowder, sometimes lowered on chains, that sent forth fire out of every part, with an incendiary effect over many yards that could pierce metal to which it was attached, producing a noise like thunder that could be heard for miles, with the result that the men and the oxides were all broken into fragments flying in all directions. Second stage. The Mongol attacks on southern Song China intensified with the election of Mongke as Great Khan in 1251. Passing through the Chengdu Plain in Sichuan, the Mongols conquered the kingdom of Dali in modern Yunnan in 1253. Mongke's brother Kublai and General Yuri Yankade pacified Yunnan and Tibet and invaded the Tian dynasty in Vietnam. The Mongols besieged Ho Chiao and lifted the siege very soon in 1254. In October 1257 Mongke set out for South China and fixed his camps near the Lupan Mountains in May. He entered Sichuan in 1258 with two-thirds of the Mongol strength. In 1259 Mongke died of cholera or dysentery during the Battle of Diao Yusheng that was defended by Wang Jian. The Chinese general Jia Sidao collaborated with Kublai and took the opportunity of Mongke's death to occupy Sichuan as subject of the Mongols. The central government of the southern Song meanwhile was unable to cope with the challenge of the Mongols and new peasant uprisings in the region of modern Fujian led by Yan Mengbao and Hunan. The court of Emperor Lizong was dominated by consort clans Jian and Jia, and the eunuchs Dongsong Chen and Lu Yunsheng. In 1260 Jia Sidao became chancellor who took control over the new emperor Zhaoqi and expelled his opponents like Quen Tianxiang and Li Fu. Because the financial revenue of the late southern Song state was very low, Jia Sidao tried to reform the regulations for the merchandise of lands with his state field law. Gunpowder weapons like the Tu Huoqiang were deployed by the Chinese against the Mongol forces, which fired bullets from bamboo tubes. Prelude and surrender of the Song dynasty. After Kublai was elected Great Khan of the Mongols in 1260, he was eventually able to conquer the Song to the south, but at great cost. From 1260 to 1264, he faced civil insurrection within the Mongol side led by his younger brother, Ariq Boka, who had been left in command of the north and stationed at the Mongol capital, Karakoram. This led to the Toluid Civil War and was followed by a major confrontation at the Diaoyu fortress in Sichuan in 1265. The Mongols eventually defeated the Songland naval armies and captured more than 100 ships. In 1268, the Mongol advance was halted at the city of Zhangyang, situated on the Han River, which controlled access to the Yangtze, the gateway to the important trading center of Hangzhou. The walls of Zhangyang were approximately 6 to 7 meters thick and encompassed an area 5 kilometers wide. The main entrances in the wall led out to a waterway impossible to ford in the summer, and impassable as a swamp and a series of ponds and mud flats in the winter. Zhangyang was linked to its twin city, Fencheng, on the opposite riverbank, by a pontoon bridge spanning the river from where the defenders of the twin settlements attempted to break the siege. However, the Mongols under Ajayu thwarted every attempt and crushed all reinforcements from the Song, each detachment numbering in the thousands. After this defeat, Ajayu asked Kublai for the powerful siege machines of the Ilkhanate. Ismail and Alauddin, from Mosul, Iraq, arrived in South China to construct a new type of counterweight-driven trebuchet that could use explosive shells. The Mosili engineers built the new siege trebuchets, and smaller mangonels, and traction trebuchets as well. The design of the critical new counterweight trebuchets were taken from those used by Hulagu to batter down the walls of Baghdad in 1258. Explosive shells had been in use in China for centuries, but the counterweight system of the trebuchet gave greater range and accuracy, and the counterweight system made it easier to judge the force generated. As such, the counterweight trebuchet built by the Persians were, practically speaking, greater in range, and so could assist in destroying the walls at Fancheng with greater safety to the Mongol forces. The Muslim and additional Chinese engineers operated the artillery and siege engines for the Mongol armies. Hence, the Chinese, who were the first to invent the traction trebuchet, now faced Persian-designed counterweight trebuchets on the side of the Mongol army. So by 1273 the Chinese were led to build their own counterweight trebuchets. As an account states, in 1273 the frontier cities had all fallen, but Muslim trebuchets were constructed with new and ingenious improvements, and different kinds became available, far better than those used before. During the siege, both the Mongol and Song forces used thunder crash bombs, a type of incendiary gunpowder weapon of cast iron, filled with gunpowder. Each was delivered via trebuchet or by other means. The effects of these shells on men and natural materials was devastating. The noise destructive and resounding for many miles, while iron armor could be penetrated by the bomb's casing during the explosion. The Mongols also utilized siege crossbows, and the Song used fire arrows and fire lances as well. Political infighting in the Song also contributed to the fall of Zhangyang and Fancheng, due to the power of the Liu family. Many questioned their allegiance to the Song, and the Emperor Bajie Sitao himself from the command. Li Tongji, an enemy of the Liu family, was appointed commander. Jie permitted the Liu to ignore Li's orders, resulting in a fractious command. Li was then unable to relieve Zhangyang and Fancheng, managing only temporary resupply during several breaks in the siege. Bayan of the Baran, the Mongol commander, then sent half of his force up river to wade to the south bank in order to build a bridge across to take the Yanglo fortress. 3,000 Song boats came up the Han River and were repulsed, with 50 boats destroyed and 2,000 dead. In the maritime engagements, the Song forces used paddle ships, and on some ships at least, fire lance, siege crossbows, and incendiary devices were deployed against Mongol forces. Zhang Yang's commander then surrendered to the Mongol commander. The entire force, now including the yielding commander, sailed down the Yangtze, and the forts along the way fell, as this commander, now allied with the Mongols, had also commanded many of the downriver garrisons. In 1270, Kublai ordered the construction of 5,000 ships. 3 years later, an additional 2,000 ships were ordered built. These would carry about 50,000 troops to give battle to the Song. In 1273, Fan Cheng capitulated, the Mongols putting the entire population to the sword to terrorize the inhabitants of Zhangyang. After the surrender of the city of Zhangyang, several thousand ships were deployed. The Song fleet, despite their deployment as a coastal defense fleet or coast guard more than an operational navy, was more than a match for the Mongols. Under his great general Bayan, Kublai unleashed a riverine attack upon the defended city of Zhangyang on the Han River. The Mongols prevailed, ultimately, but it would take 5 more years of hard combat to do so. Kublai had founded the Yuan dynasty in 1271, and by 1273, the Mongols had emerged victorious on the Han River. The Yangtze River was opened for a large fleet that could conquer the southern Song Empire. A year later, the child prince Zhao Jian was made emperor. Resistance continued, resulting in Bayan's massacre of the inhabitants at Changzhou in 1275 and mass suicide of the defenders at Changsha in January 1276. When the Yuan Mongol Chinese troops and fleet advanced and one prefecture after the other submitted to the Yuan, Jia Sidao offered his own submission, but the Yuan Chancellor Bayan refused. The last contingents of the Song Empire were heavily defeated, the old city of Jiankang fell, and Jia Sidao was killed. The capital of Song, Linan, was defended by Wen Tianxiang and Zhang Shijia. When Bayan and Dong Wenbin camped outside Linan in February 1276, the Song Grand Empress Dowager Xie and Empress Dowager Quan surrendered the underage Emperor Gong of Song along with the imperial seal. Emperor Gong abdicated, but faithful loyalists like Zhang Ju, Wen Tianxiang, Zhang Shijia and Lu Zhufu successively enthroned the emperor's younger brothers Zhao Shi and Zhao Bing. Zhao Shi was enthroned as Emperor Duanzong of Song far from the capital in the region of Fuzhou, but he died soon afterwards on the flight southwards, into modern Guangdong. Zhao Bing was enthroned as Emperor Huizong of Song on Lantau Island, Hong Kong. On March 19, 1279, the Mongols defeated the last of the Song forces at the naval battle of Yamen. After the battle, as a last defiant act against the invaders, Lu Zhufu embraced the 8-year-old emperor and the pair leapt to their deaths from Mount Ya, thus marking the extinction of the southern Song. Last stand of the Song loyalists. Empress Dowager Xie had secretly sent the child emperor's 2 younger brothers to Fuzhou. The strongholds of the Song loyalists fell one by one: Yangzhou in 1276, Chongqing in 1277 and Hezhou in 1279. The loyalists fought the Mongols in the mountainous Fujian Guangdong Jiangxi borderland. In February 1279, Wen Tianxiang, one of the Song loyalists, was captured and executed at the Yuan capital Khan Balik. The end of the Mongol-Song War occurred on 19 March 1279, when 1,000 Song warships faced a fleet of 300 to 700 Yuan Mongol warships at Yamen. The Yuan fleet was commanded by Zhang Hongfan, a northern Chinese, and Li Heng, a Tangnut. Catapults as a weapon system were rejected by Kublai's court, for they feared the Song fleet would break out if they used such weapons. Instead, they developed a plan for a maritime siege, in order to starve the Song into submission. But at the outset, there was a defect in the Song tactics that would later be exploited by Yuan at the conclusion of the battle. The Song wanted a stronger defensive position, and the Song fleet roped itself together in a solid mass, in an attempt to create a nautical skirmish line. Results were disastrous for the Song. They could neither attack nor maneuver. Escape was also impossible, for the Song warships lacked any nearby base. On the 12th of March, a number of Song combatants defected to the Mongol side. On the 13th of March, a Song squadron attacked some of the Mongols' northern patrol boats. If this action was an attempted breakout, it failed. By the 17th of March, Li Heng and Zhang Hongfan opted for a decisive battle. 4 Mongol fleets moved against the Song. Li Heng attacked from the north and northwest, Zhang would proceed from the southwest. The last 2 fleets attacked from the south and west. Weather favored the Mongols that morning. Heavy fog and rain obscured the approach of Li Heng's dawn attack. The movement of the tide in the southwestern similarly benefited the movement of the Mongol fleet, which, in short order, appeared to the north of the Song. It was an unusual attack in that the Mongol fleet engaged the Song fleet stern first. Prior to the battle, the Mongols constructed archery platforms for their marines. The position enabled the archers to direct a higher, more concentrated rate of missile fire against the enemy. Fire teams of 7 or 8 archers manned these platforms, and they proved devastatingly effective as the battle commenced at close quarter. Li Heng's first attack cut the Song rope that held the Chinese fleet together. Fighting raged in close quarters combat. Before midday, the Song lost 3 of their ships to the Mongols. By forenoon, Li's ships broke through the Song's outer line, and 2 other Mongol squadrons destroyed the Song formation in the northwest corner. Around this time, the tide shifted. Li's ships drifted to the opposite direction, the north. The Song believed that the Mongols were halting the attack and dropped their guard. Zhang Hongfan's fleet, riding the northern current, then attacked the Song ships. Zhang was determined to capture the Song admiral, Zhao Tai. The Yuan flagship was protected by shields to negate the Song missile fire. Later, when Zhang captured the Song flagship, his own vessel was riddled with arrows. Li Heng's fleet also returned to the battle. By late afternoon, the battle was over, and the last of the Song navy surrendered. The ruling elite were unwilling to submit to Yuan rule, and opted for death by suicide. The Song councillor, who had been tasked with holding the infant child emperor of the Song in his arms during the battle, also elected to join the Song leaders in death. It is uncertain whether he or others decided that the infant emperor should die as well. The councillor therefore jumped into the sea, still holding the child in his arms. Tens of thousands of Song officials and women threw themselves into the sea and drowned. The last Song emperor died with his entourage, held in the arms of his councillor. With his death, the final remnants of the Song resistance were eliminated. The victory of this naval campaign marked the completion of Kublai's conquest of China, and the onset of the consolidated Mongol Yuan dynasty. Members of the Song imperial family continued to live in the Yuan dynasty like Emperor Gong of Song, Zhao Mengfu, and Zhao Yong.